What's up, guys? We're back with another Four Horsemen Cosmic Legions review, and we're taking an early look at the Cosmic Legions Amazing Alien and Creature Creator 2-pack from LegionsCon. This is our Cosmic exclusive for LegionsCon this year, and it's similar but different to the Mythic exclusive. It's 2 figures, there's 45 billion accessories in here, but it's not 2 tribute figures. So this one is AA20, and this is CC24. There is a call out for Diego from Four Horsemen Studios in one of these bios, but it's not a direct tribute kind of thing. So it's similar but different to what we got with the Mythic side. What this is more of a tribute or homage to in some ways is the Tomy Mighty Men and Monster Maker set from, I believe, the 70s, where they got a lot of the inspiration for the packaging design here. So it's still our double wide premium box 2-pack packaging. So you got the figures in the window. We've got these cosmic hands reaching up to kind of make a figure, which is how that box was set up on the original toy set. You've got bios on the spines, and then the back of the box is really different from the norm, and this is a direct homage again from that Monster Maker set, where it kind of gives you an idea of what you can make out of this. It showcases a bunch of the parts, and then kind of tells you a step-by-step process of sorts of how to put a figure together, which I think is pretty cool. I don't have a great deal of nostalgia for this thing. I know it existed, but it's before my time. It's one of those things that's a little bit too old for me, but I love the idea of what this is and the presentation here. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Cosmic Legions LegionsCon exclusive for 2024. We've got AA20 on the left, we've got CC24 on the right, and these guys make up the Amazing Alien and Creature Creator set. Just like the Mythic set, but even more so, really. This is all about one of the core aspects of Legions, part swapping, being able to add stuff, take away stuff, mix and match, make your own figure, all that good stuff, customizing if you go that deep with it. This set comes with an almost intimidating amount of pieces, especially if maybe you're not into part swapping. You're going to have just so many extra pieces laying around. But there's a lot of stuff and a lot of potential in this set. So let's get started. Let's dig in and see what these guys are all about. I'm going to start with Articulation, as usual. And they're both 1.0 Cosmic figures, so as far as how they're built and put together, Articulation is effectively the same. I'm just gonna run through one of them so we don't spend too much time on that. So we've got, of course, our ball peg head and neck, so up and down. You've got your shimmy side to side and rotation. I've got the pauldrons on him just to complete the look, but arms still go out really far. They swivel at the shoulder. You've got your single jointed swiveling elbow, swivel at the gauntlet, swivel at the wrist, and hinge, of course. We've got our ball peg waist. So you've got, pretty decent range. Of course, the range is going to go here and there depending on what you're doing with the figure, what parts you've got, what configuration. So there's going to be some variance in between iteration to iteration of figures that you're messing with here. Legs go out way, way far. Do the space splits there. They kick forward for some high stepping. Kick backwards. You've got your thigh twist. Single jointed swiveling knee, of course. And then you've got swivel at the top of the ankle there. You've got your hinges. And then you've got rocker. So in general, if you've messed with one Legions, Cosmic or otherwise, and it's a 1.0 figure, you know exactly what to expect here. But for the uninitiated, these figures do still have really solid range. And especially when you start mixing and matching parts, you're going to be able to figure out which configurations work really well for whatever your articulation needs happen to be. But both of them are ultimately very, very similar. Now, as far as what the figures offer, we have to talk about them individually. And first up is going to be AA20. And this is kind of one of the default loadouts that you would get with this figure. So we've got the Space Magnus head on him right now. And this guy is overwhelmingly kind of like a Novian Lean figure from the second wave of Cosmic Legions, just in a different colorway. And this is also the figure that I used, and you'll see it again in this video, I'm sure, when I made my Cosmythic Boba Fett figure, which is a quick and dirty, very simple swap. But it works really well because of the color scheme here. Everything between these two figures is very heavy on green, but in kind of like a muted fashion. Nothing is super bright and vibrant, save for a few little hits here and there. Everything is very much kind of worn and weathered a little bit, but is very dull, if that makes any sense. It doesn't look exactly, factory fresh in some ways. And the two figures also share a lot of similarities when it comes to colors, so you can kind of mix and match parts between these two figures fairly easily by the look of it. I really liked Novian Lean from Cosmic Book 2. He was the first figure that I reviewed out of that wave when he wasn't the one I intended to do first, but when I got him in hand, I just had to talk about him. And it still goes the same way here. I really like these parts. The mix of like the fabric parts, the quote unquote fabric with some armor really works. He does have mythic bracers on here, so they've got a little bit that sort of mixes and matches. You've got a little hit of mythic there alongside, you know, an overwhelming amount of cosmic parts, although some of this fabric stuff is very, universal, no pun intended, when it comes to both lines. You'll see it across both sets of figures. But I really, really like this color scheme. In particular, again, it's given off humongous Boba Fett vibes, and I'm going to say it until I'm red in the face at this point. It just works. It works really, really well, too. And there's no way it wasn't an accident, or at least, you know, it was a happy accident if somehow they managed to make this stuff without actually noticing that that was going to happen here. But I'm really happy with the way this guy looks. And there's, again, another instance of us getting parts that we've seen multiple times at this point in some cases, with a lot of this stuff, really, but in a very, very different colorway. And that still becomes the name of the game with a lot of these kind of sets, is the fact that, yeah, we've seen these parts, we've got fabric pieces, we've got these boots, we've got this belt, we've got this torso, we've got these pauldrons, right? But we don't have them in this color scheme, and you can utilize that to mix and match and make your own figures. But even in just this generic, I'll say generic, you know, not in a negative way, sort of default loadout, it looks like an entirely different figure, despite the fact that we've seen a lot of this stuff before. It's just a matter of slapping a different color on him, and I think it works really well. Not to mention the fact that I can't take my eyes off of this head sculpt, not because it's one of my favorite heads, well, at least human heads, in the Mythic line. It's just such a wild looking color. This red to purple fade, I'm not sure the inspiration behind it, but it looks cool, and that's pretty much all I need. It is a very Space Magnus, you know, almost kind of demonic looking head, because he has those yellow, bright yellow pupilless eyes, which I've always said this for a long time now. I love pupilless eyes, especially on a guy that maybe looks a little bit evil, because he doesn't look like a good guy like that to me. He's got a nice wash in the hair, or a dry brushing rather, in the hair and the beard to bring out some of those top strands of hair, and then you got the black recessed in there. But it looks really cool, and it's a very striking difference, of course, to some of these muted colors, and it also ties in a little bit of these hits of red. So there's a lot of cool parts here just at face value, but it also does make for a pretty exciting looking figure, even if you're not into part swapping. Now, as far as accessories goes for AA20, he comes with a lot. Both figures come with a lot. Like I said, this set is fairly intimidating just by virtue of how much stuff is crammed in here. It's overwhelming, the amount of possibilities you have in terms of part swapping, but also weaponry and just what you want to do to kit these guys out. There is some exclusive stuff here as well for both figures. The head sculpt that I've got on him right now, this red vampiric head, is the exclusive piece. So this won't be part of an eventual single release down the road. It's only going to be available in this particular set. And obviously this head has some possibilities for use in Mythic and Cosmic, because you could just have Red Vampire now, which is pretty neat. He includes pauldrons, of course, which we've already talked about. He has the Cosmic backpack. This is like the one that Vorga has, right? But again, this lends itself towards the whole Boba Fett thing that I feel just runs through this set, because this is something you would need if you want to make a Cosmic Boba Fett. I really like that. He includes these red gauntlets as well, these red bracers. So these are tusk bracers that are swappable because, you know, of course, it's all modular. He comes with the leather Mythic ones on him in the box, but you get full Cosmic pieces here. So you pop those off and put them on. I would urge using heat just because for me, that's one of the more difficult pieces to swap in the line. But they look really good and they help break him up in a slightly different way. They also lend themselves to the different hands that we get with this figure too, because this guy comes with a dozen total hands. He comes with 6 Tusk style hands, and he comes with 6 Mythic hands. So with these, you would use these style hands right here. These are the more armored, robotic style hands. So he's got style posy hands on him now. He's got a set of gripping hands, and he's also got a set of trigger finger hands in this style. And then for the Mythic, because, you know, again, you've got leather bracers, he includes 6 hands. You've got trigger finger, you've got style pose, grasping, and then you've got some gripping hands also there. So you get a dozen hands. We also get some tubes, which I really like with these guys, just to break them up and add a little bit of maybe asymmetry or even more symmetry on the figures, depending on how you want to use them. They include the little pegs as well, of course. One thing that neither figure has, which I was kind of surprised by, but not exactly upset, they don't include any of the projection hologram things, which that's probably one of my favorite things in Cosmic right now, so it was kind of weird to not see it, but at the same time, I've got so many, I don't think it really matters. He does include another head sculpt in addition, so this is the exclusive head. This is the head that comes on him in the box. And then he includes a Tusk Sentry style head, done up again in like armored Boba Fett colors. You can't tell me this wasn't done on purpose. And then you've got the black visor. It's just green under there. But this looks really good if you want to give him a fully armored look. He includes the little, well, you knock that down. He includes the little missile launcher that pegs into the wrist gauntlets. Of course, these are going to peg into the cosmic ones because the mythic ones don't have that. He includes the cosmic blaster rifle done up in sort of a flat gray with some silver highlights and then more of that green, that sort of muted green, but it's metallic on the gun. And then he also includes the cosmic little blaster as well. And again, these have the holes on the side so you can put a peg in there if you wanted to attach something else or pop it on his belt or whatever you want to do. This guy comes with a lot. Again, it's kind of overwhelming the amount of stuff here because just with this alone, you've got a number of possibilities from head swapping and then wrist swapping, not to mention 8 billion different hands. But when you take both figures and put them together, the amount of possibilities, well, it's not limitless, but it's a lot. Now for the other half of this set, we've got the CC-24 figure, which if I'm understanding the bio right, this is sort of a group of experimental creatures, and this one in particular is supposed to be the tribute of sorts to Diego from Four Horsemen, which is always cool for someone from the studio to get immortalized in plastic. Now, this guy is also another instance of Novian lean parts being used. That's specifically the head sculpt here. The rest of this guy is still a lot of familiar territory. We've got Tusk parts, we've got that backpack on him, we've got Oleg Thygar arms, we've got Sphexian feet down at the bottom. But it's all, again, done up in a different colorway. And a lot of these parts look really striking to me with this green and purple color scheme, which honestly looked a little garish at first. It's kind of striking. It's a little off-putting in some ways to me, but the more I've looked at this, the more I can see a lot of usage, especially if you combine them with the AA-20 figure, because their colors, while not exactly the same by any means, are definitely complementary to one another when it comes to these varying hues of green. What I really like, and it's such a small, tiny detail on this figure, are these little pops of super neon green. So in the little fan doodad on his chest, and of course that's removable, and then on the eyes there. But you've also got a lot of, again, familiar parts, which is going to be the case for both of these figures if you've been in Cosmic long enough, but they're done up in different colors. And there's a lot of paint on these guys, not to mention the fact that this one in particular has a tremendous fade here on these arms from this sort of mottled green to this very sandy color almost, and it's a nice transition there, not a lot of wash and dry brushing in there to bring out that sculpt, all those scaly textures, but there's also this slightly metallic, glittery finish over top of some of the armor, specifically on the black parts. But then you've got all this other color by comparison to the AA-20 figure, which again is kind of muted, but this guy's got greens, he's got silvers, he's got purples, browns, a lot of very muted, somewhat earthy tones, but in this configuration in a kind of a spacey way, for lack of a better way to say it. I really like this configuration though. It's very, very cosmic, for lack of a better way to say it. Like this is a cosmic Legions figure for sure. A lot of armor, and then of course he's got some bare arms to showcase what kind of critter he is, which I think is pretty cool. And I still really like the backpacks on these guys, whatever we're calling them. I love the way this looks. I know you've got hits of that green popping out of the back there as well, sort of those exhaust ports that he's got. And then this is, again, you know, another instance of utilizing Novian lean parts with this head sculpt. This is the only one of his two that we get, so you get the open mouth, the one with the exposed tongue and everything. And he, again, similar to the AA-20 figure, kind of looks a little evil here, looks a little menacing almost, but there's a lot of paint on this head sculpt. Lots of browns and tans, more of that sort of mottled green color up top, and then you've still got these bones and spines coming out with his little, techno doodads that go from the mouth to the back of the head. So there's a lot up there in terms of paint, not to mention the rest of the body, which I think is kind of a stark contrast between both figures. AA-20 doesn't seem to have nearly as much, and this guy has a lot more to help beef him up and to make these parts that we've seen quite a few times at this point stand out from what we've had over the course of the last year or so. As for CC-24's accessories, he has slightly more than AA-20, but he also has more that is truly exclusive as well. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that they are themed to his color scheme. So of course, it's multiple pieces in this same set that's exclusive, but some of it is obviously meant for AA20, and some of it is obviously meant for CC24. So we're going to run through the exclusive stuff first. He's got a Tusk Science Officer armored head sculpt. This is the exclusive head for this set, for this figure rather, and it's done up, of course, in his color scheme, so it's purple and green. And then you've also got some other pieces that are modular that are going to make up the rest of what's exclusive here. The first of which is this belt. So you can take this belt off, of course, pop him off at the waist, and you've got another belt here. What is interesting, and something that I didn't think about at first, is you can't see like the crotch on this figure because of this little doodad that's hanging down. But with this one, you'll see the crotch underneath there. So they did include the actual crotch cover, and it is, of course, themed to his colors. It's purple and green and with that metallic black in there. So you've got this. You'll want to use that in conjunction with that. So this is going to be exclusive as well. And then he also includes arms. So you get fully armored Tusk arms. These are going to be exclusive to the set as well. And they are done up again in the same color scheme. So what you can conceivably do here is make a fully armored Tusk figure in this color scheme. Or if you want to get crazy with it, because you've also got the backpack, which is very, very versatile here, you can make a Sphexian if you've got the extra parts. You know, take the neck from a Sphexian out and put it on this figure with a head, and you've got a Sphexian that's done up in this color scheme without really any fuss at all, which is pretty neat, and I'm definitely going to be doing that myself. Now, he does include some other stuff as well that adds further to the modularity, because if you don't want to use the backpack, he does look fairly weird, so they gave him pauldrons also. So you do have pauldrons that are done up in this color scheme. We've also got swappable feet. So he has Sphexian feet on him in the box. These are the standard Tusk style armored feet, again done up in his color scheme. And then we've got extra stuff as far as heads go as well, because, well, they're sitting here. So the first one is the one we've already seen. This is the Novian Lean head sculpt, but I wanted to call out the fact that he also includes the neck piece. You know, we've seen this on other figures like Oleg Thygar. So this will go in there in conjunction with the backpack to kind of make it all look a little seamless, to add a little height to him. So you've got this, and this is, of course, in a matching colorway to that head sculpt. And then he also includes the Tusk Sentry unarmored head. So this is like that sort of elongated skull alien head. You've got the bright green on this again, which I do really like, but there's a ton of paint on this head sculpt. Like a muddy brown on the back, fading to green, fading to like a sand color. And then there's almost a hit of purple down around the mouth. So you've got yet another colorway for that head sculpt. He also includes a boatload of hands, not as many as AA24, but almost. So he includes the 3-fingered Tusk hands on him in the box. These are the gripping hands. You get a set of trigger finger hands for a total of 4 blackish but metallic Tusk style hands. And then he's also got hands that, as far as I'm aware, were not advertised. So he includes 8 reptilian scaly style hands. You've got 2 sets of trigger finger hands with vertical and lateral hinges, so that's 4. And then you've also got the same when it comes to gripping hands, lateral hinges and vertical hinges, for a total of 8 of these. And these are, of course, done up in this sort of sandy, light brownish style color. And then he includes weaponry, because despite all of this, he still needs more. So you've got, and this is a mythic weapon, you've got this big dagger knife, which, despite being a mythic weapon, I think works pretty well here. It's still a melee weapon. There's no reason for cosmic figures to not have something like this. It's got a little like powder blue for the handle, and then just a standard silver blade. You do get 2 of the wrist blades here that peg into the gauntlets on him, so they peg into those holes. They're done up with some of that green color and then more metallic silver for the blade. And then the last accessory, assuming I haven't missed anything throughout all of this, he comes with the monstrous Sphexian rifle. And this is done up in sort of like a steel blue kind of color almost. It's very silver, but it's also got a lot of blue in there. And I really like this colorway, especially in contrast to the figure, because it not only does it stand out because it's just enormous, but it's a very different color from what the figure has in general. There's a light hint of purple in these little orbs here, but overwhelmingly it's a very different and clashing style thing to the rest of the figure. So yeah, he's got a lot. There are a number of options, and again, with this figure in particular, you can make a number of different style figures that we've already seen, like Tusk figures or Sphexians, just by swapping out some of these parts, and in the case of a Sphexian, just putting a head and neck on there, and you're good to go in a brand new colorway. Now for a few quick swaps, I wanted to start with one I showed in the Mythic exclusive review. This is my Cosmythic Boba Fett. This is the Gorgo helmet from the Garich figure with the pauldrons from Novian Lean on the AA20 body. This is a quick and dirty Boba Fett figure, utilizing a lot of stuff that's readily available in this set. The next one, we've got a couple easy head swaps. This is the red Magnus head from the AA20 figure on the Krampus body, just without the tail. And then the next one is the red vampire head from the AA20 figure on a Fury Orc head to showcase just how easy these colors are going to go together. Then we've got one I kind of mentioned earlier. This is a pseudo Sphexian using the CC24 figure. This utilizes the majority of that figure, all the tusk parts, along with a neck and head from one of the, and the tail from one of the Sphexian miners. You can't put wings on this body, but you can make a wingless, maybe a juvenile Sphexian. And then lastly, just for fun, and because I'm excited to see him soon, I've got another Cosmic Wall Tour. This is the AA20 figure with the Cabal shirt from the Wall Tour figure, along with the head and that little wine doodad. So a lot of easy part swaps here, nothing too crazy, just to give you an idea of where you can start and some places you can go with these figures. So yeah, overall, this is a really fun set of figures. Dare I say this is maybe a little bit more fun for me personally than the Mythic set, but of course, you know, I'm enjoying both. I really, really like the mix of parts, all of these heads that are included with this, the bonus parts on both figures, and just the idea of, again, being able to make a Cosmic Boba Fett fairly simply worked really well for me and just kind of sucked me into this set in general. But even beyond that, the base configurations, even if you're not a swapper, the base configurations on these are really well thought out. They're very different from a lot of stuff we've already gotten in the line, despite, of course, being intense parts reuse, but it again goes to show exactly what they're capable of doing with this library of parts. A lot of this stuff, you know, we've seen a few times over already, but in this configuration, looks like something entirely new and different. So that's going to do it for this look at the Cosmic Legions, LegionsCon 2024 exclusive Amazing Alien and Creature Creator 2-pack. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.